We're going to start today's daf on the last line or second line from the bottom of Mem Aleph on the base. We're continuing like the Inyan of Pigel, and part of that we you didn't bring the right Gemara. It's the part two. So it's not in part two here. Hold on, say hi. Not yet. Well, I'll go closer. So basically, we said yesterday in yesterday's daf, we said that it said if you put all of them properly, it's okay. So then we learned a statement. It said pigol b'kometz v'lo. After two dots yesterday, we said the following: if you did the pigol on the first part, there are two material for mincha. There's a kometz and a levona. So let's say you did a pigol thought on one of them, but not the other, on the kometz and not the levona. So, or the levona, not the kometz. Rabbi Meir says it's pigol, and you're chayav for kares. And the Chamim say there's no kares until you're fagom kol matir. And then Reish Lakish gave. You might have thought that the reason why the mayor says it's pigul, even though it's only half, is because the mayor's in a position that you don't need to pigul on the entire matir, whatever is the entirety of what allows it to be brought as a carbon. But Reish Lakish came along and Reish Lakish said, no, not like that. Reish Lakish said, "Lo tema time and do mayor because savim mafagel mechatzi matir." Don't say that that's the reason you give a mayor that you're mafagel on after matir. The reason is where Rabbi Meir is in the position that since you gave the first part with a pigul thought, then the continuation, even though there was no actual thought, we assume it's just a continuation of that. That's Rabbi Meir's position. That's what Reish Lakish says is Rabbi Meir's position. That since you gave the first part of machshava and the vona pishtika kasavar kol osal das rishonos. That's like when you say also that's the way intent works for when you write a Sefer Torah. You don't have to say L'Shem Kedusha Sefer Torah before every word. You say L'Shem Kedusha Sefer Torah at the beginning, and then everything is assumed to be continuing on the same thing. What? When you make the tzitzis, you go osal das rishonos. But the Gemara challenges this because now I'm continuing on our daf at the bottom, and this is a Tosefta from Zevachim. It says, when do we say this? And what is that? What's the previous line in the Tosefta? Rashi says that the previous line in Tosefta is that with one matana, you're mefaga. When do we say that? That's the blood that's placed on the outer altar, which, as we know from the daf that we're doing, that from the outer altar, we're saying that you only need one application. But on top of Membezim and Arafal, that if you place blood on the inner altar, and what are these inner altar bloods? You go on Arba'im Yeshalos to Yom Kippur, 43 times of Yom Kippur, 43 applications on the inner altar. How do you get to 43? We'll come back to that in a moment. The 11 of the Kohen HaMashiach, and the 11 of the bull, where they're the parallel tzibur, where you're going to need all these different applications, and they're all required. So in that case, we say Pigol bein rishon bein mishniya bein mishlishis. Meir omer pigol b'chayav and olav kares. Meir says that if you're mifagol both in the first or the second or the third, it's pigol and you're liable for kares. Chachamim omer mein bo kares achi pagol b'chol matir. And Chachamim say it's not pigol until you're mifagol into the entire. But anyway, we see from here that Meir says katani mia pigol bein rishon bein mishniya bein mishlishis. That Rabbi Meir says that you're mifagol even if you did in the first or the second or the third. So we see it's obviously it's the second. It wasn't done all that's Rishona. It's obviously there are mayors of the position that it's not that that's Rishona, but he's in the position that you're being mefagel. Even half of the matir is going to be enough to cause people. How do we get to the 43 going back? So Rashi says the 1 up and 7 below. And that refers to you hold your hand up once and then 7 below, which is both Albeina Badim, that's between the poles of the ark from the bow. from the Damaparo, Kenegdim and Damasar, and opposite from the Damasar, that's 16. Kenegdim al Parochas, and opposite on the Parochas, so that's 32. 16 from the bull, 16 from the goat. And then you have 4 in the Karnos Mizbeach HaKnimi, and then you have 4 in the horns, and then you have 7 on top, and that's how you get to 43. Okay, so anyway, we have this question: how can Rish Lakish say that it's Bolus al Das Rishono? So we'll see from here; it's very clearly the case. Yeah, that Ramir is his other position that you're mefadel even a half a matir. So how do we answer this question? We're going to see 3 answers to this question. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Av Nachman Yaskinen Yon Shapigal B'Shlita Dechad Matir Hill. So he says, no, what we're talking about here is Shapigal B'Shlita, that he did the pigal in Shlita, the Chad Matir. Let's see what Rashi says is going on. Rashi says, how to come Rameir pigal b'shniya? When does Rameir say that if you're mefagel on the second one, it's considered a pigal? It's when shenishbach hadam, the blood spilled after you finished one of the applications of the blood on the matana shebefnim, the kaimel maseder yoma, and we learn in the Maseches Yoma, yavi acher, you have to bring another bull and slaughter it via but vehicle. So you bring another bull and you continue. You don't have to start over. And then you did the pigo on that one. The Kamar Rabbi Meir, Dahu Par Avi Pigo, Shari Pigo Bo Bavoda Shem. That's a complete avoda. And so therefore, since you brought another bull and you're mefago and the whole flow, that's considered an avoda shlema. It's one matir. If that's the case, it's one matir. Why did the Rabbanan say that it's not pigo unless you don't know all of them? So Rabbi's answer is man chachamim. No, who are these chachamim? That's Rabbi Elazar, the Tanan. These are all things that are supposed to be entirely burned. So the komets, the lavona, the ketores, the minchas kohanim, the kohanim used to bring a mincha every day called the minchas. When the kohanim bring a mincha, they don't eat from it; it's entirely burned, and there's no shirayim. The minchas kohanim Mashiach, that was the minchas chavitim, which is also all burned. That the kohen gadol brought every day. That's why the kohen gadol had to be rich. Minchas nesachim and the mincha of the nesachim, which is also burned. Shekriv me'achas me'an kazayis b'chut. If you brought a portion of them outside chayiv, that you're going to be liable. Rabbi Elazar poter achi yakri that's cool. Rabbi Elazar says you're going to be exempt until you bring all of them. And so we see from here, Rabbi Elazar says you're only going to be chayiv if you bring all of the blood, not just from that one animal. Mara says, but is that the case? Well, I'm a rebel. It doesn't work because even though Rabbi Elazar would say that by the komets and the other items that are entirely burned, Rabbi Elazar would say by damim that even if you were just mefago on a portion of it, it's going to be, under those circumstances, it's going to be pigo. Moed Rabbi Elazar b'damim. Because Rabbi Elazar and Shimon Omer min makom shepachak misham l'matzkil. Rabbi Elazar and Shimon say, they argue with the Tanakama, and they say that if you put, we'll look at the Rashi here. We got Tanakama. Tamer nasam etzas matana shebefnim v'nishbach hadam yavi dam achar v'yatzkel b'tkila. The Tanakama says you start over. All the low gamar osa kapar. Whereas Rabbi Elazar and Shimon Omer, they say you continue. We see from here avodahi. They must be their other position. It's an avoda. The pigo chiyuv puts kamadamis lomibai b'shlita davi pigo afilu pigo b'matana achat Rabbi Elazar under this circumstance it's saying it's pigo. So therefore you can't say that this is the position of Rabbi Elazar. So therefore, second answer. Ela Marava Rava gives a second answer. What we're talking about here is going to pigo b'rishona b'shasak b'shniya b'chazar pigo b'shlisha. So Rameir is saying that we had assumed that he only done the what is the Tosefta talking about? It's talking about a case where Meir says you're mefago in the first one, and then the second one you had no thought, and then you were mefago in the third one. So we had two. We might have thought the chiddush is that you might have thought that since you didn't have any intention on the second one, that therefore it's not pigul. We're saying it's not like that. The Meir is saying that since you were since you have mefago on the first one and the third one, we assume the second one was part of it. So that's how we say there. Meir is other position. That's what Rav is saying. Ma'odetema, that's the Rashi table is Ma'odetema. What by you have thought? Isak daita chadatz rishona who me'ader pikule me'ader pikule b'shlishis me'ader pikule b'shlishis lamoy kamash one. You might have said, you might have thought, well, if he's really doing al das rishona, then why does he have to go back again and do a pikul on the third one? So from the fact that he's not doing that, we see from here that he's that we don't say that, and we're saying it's pigul all the way through. So okay, so Maska for Ravashi. Ravashi challenges them. Midei Shasa Katanim. That's not what the Tosefta said. The Tosefta didn't say anything about Tosefta didn't say anything at all about being shasak in the middle. Elam Ravashi. Ravashi gives third answer. What we're talking about here is we want to pick up Rishonim, Shneim, Shlishis. You're mefaga all three times. That's what's going on. Now the Tammy, you might have thought he's talking about might have thought he's saying that if he's really doing on the first one, then why did he have to go back and do it on each time? So you might have thought that we don't say Kol Sadas Rishona. So Kamash one that we do say Adas Rishona Losa and it is Pigel. Mar says Bain Bain Katani on top of them Bain and Bain. We have a problem with it. It says a Loshon of Bain Bain. It's not what the language of the Tosefta is saying. It's saying whether he did on the first or the second. That's totally different than the Loshon. Mar says Kasha. Okay, it's indeed a difficulty with all these answers. So now it's analyzing statement. Amar Mara and Meir Amar Pigel v'Chayav and Olav Kares. Rabbi Meir says that and Rashi explains that we're going back and we're asking about the position that says Rameir is mefagel the chatzi matir. So if that's the case, he says, why are you going to be mefagel there if you only on the part that says that you burnt kazayis outside? Why are you mefagel? You haven't done the entire matir. You need to do the entire matir in order to be chayav kares. So I'm a maramera pigel v'chayav and have kares. Mar says nichli kares on mechayav actually krivi kol matir. You're only chayav kares if you bring the entire matir, the entire thing that allows you. So why are you liable for kares here? The Amar Mar, because didn't we learn karatzas kasher kacharatzas possible? We learned this earlier in Masechta. You're doing the daf 8 times, by the way, every day. Yeah, Baruch Hashem. So we learned this earlier. So he says. All the people on the Zoom are seeing it. Here's what we say: "Karatzas kasher, kachartzas pasal, maratzas kasher, achekriv kol matir, afartzas pasal, achekriv kol matir." Meaning, say you're not going to be chayiv until you brought all the matirav. So if that's the case, since he didn't bring all the matirav here, why is he chayiv kares here? So Gemara says, "Well, given the chashiv, baby." So the Gemara says. So, and the Gemara says, once he had the improper thought in the beginning on the blood on the inside, he will make it disqualified. And it's like he's not able to bring it. And when it goes sprinkles it in the echol, it's already been disqualified. So he's not bringing the kol matirav. So what's the case? Is the guy selling this stuff? What? Oh, three. So the Gemara says. No. So the Gemara says, Amar Rava, no mishkachas ba'ar. So Rava gives one possibility, one teretz about how it can happen. Rava says mishkachas ba'ar b'param b'dalat tzir. It's possible that it happens if it's with 4 cows or 4 goats. Meaning to say, like the first answer we gave about Reish Lakish, and to Rameir, where each time they brought a different pole and a different goat. So it's each one is different. Rava says afilu teimu parach v'sar echad. So his answer is lefiguo meratze ba'arbam v'shalosh. So meaning to say, look at the Rashi. Just like if he had the thought by the shchita, we call it zrika karile with zrika dama pas all as that karva matirav meratzos lefiguo. Just like if he did the shchita for the zrika for the. Even though it's going to be disqualified, we're saying it's all part of one process. So too, basically that's the answer. That's how the Torah says is the definition of people is that when you start at the wrong that it's all part of the people process. That this, even though it's only a part of the matira, that it's all considered one entity. That's basically the Gemara's answer. But Gemara says, but Tanya, so then they go back and answer. Says, why is it 43 applications? We've done it in 5 minutes. But Tanya, Arbaim but is it really 43? Didn't we learn it to Arbaim V'Sheva? Didn't we learn it's 47? So Gemara says no. The position that he says that you mix the one who says that it's 43 is that one said that they mixed the blood of the bull and the goat for the chronos of the mizbeach, so therefore it's combined, so therefore it's 4 wads. And on the other one who says it's 47 is where they didn't mix it. One says, what about the position that says Val Tanya Arba Mishmona? Then the Gemara says, no, the one that says 48, Al Command Amar Shirayim Achim, that they have to pour to the Yitzot, so that's how they get to 48. Al Command Amar ain't Shirayim Achim. The one that says 47 is the import. The Gemara says, Meisvei B'medvar Amurim. This is the Tosefta Menachos Katanila. Rashi says, where do we say that the mincha becomes pigul by one avoda b'kmitza, b'matan kli, or b'hiluch, she'en shemel avodas matir echad, where there's only one matir, she'en kmitza, matan kli b'lavona, b'hiluch b'menachos. How do we know that even when one activity, it makes a pigul by kmitza? So b'medvar mamurim b'kmitza, b'matan kli b'hiluch, but if it comes to burning, nothing it's a komets v'machshava. That's it. When it comes to the burning, you put the komets with improper thought. That's a avona b'shtika, and they did the avona without improper thought. That's a komet b'shtika. That's a avona b'machshava. There, Rabbi Meir Omer Pigol v'chayav and have courage. Or Meir says Pigol, and again, it seems to be the idea either half matir or kol sadas rishon oseh. V'chachamim ein bal kors ad shebekago b'kol matir. I would say it's only pigul unless you're doing it on the whole thing. We see from here, even though the komets is b'shtika and the levona is the machshava, it's considered to be pigul. So it's not al das rishon. It's just for mayor's other position. You could do pigul on half a matir. So the Gemara says, he's giving it an egg. Where it says, no, it means he already did the, it's not a thing. He already did the Avodah b'machshava. Chada. And the Aino Reish, first of all, that's the first one. V'od ha'tanya. V'od ha'tanya v'acharka. Can't be that that's the approach. First of all, there's two problems with things. One is this is the Reisha. And second of all, he says, and afterwards. So this is indeed a question, kasha. So it's indeed a difficulty because we seem to be concluding for the Gemara that our mayor's other position that half a matir can cause pigul. Okay, Shikoyach. What a geschmack to do the daf here. Look.